I have the Hennessy Hammock ultralight backpacker and I love it. I'm hiking the AT this March. I imagine I will never need to set it up on the ground. I will always hang from trees. But just in case, I always like to be prepared, and I enjoy hiking and fields and deserts and places like that. So I wanted to set this up and show you how to set up a Hennessy hammock using hiking poles without trees. First we have to gather our gear. I'm using the Hennessy Hammock ultralight backpacker. This is the hammock itself, and we can put this aside. We won't need it for a while. The rain fly that I use is not the one that comes with the hammock, but rather this is the Hennessy Hammock Hex seal nylon rain fly. It's much bigger. You need 4 stakes to stake it out, and we'll need an extra 2 for today's operation to get the hammock to hang without a tree. The stakes I use are just MSR stakes, very cheap, inexpensive I should say, heavy duty though, and lightweight. You can get away with just the 4 stakes. If you wanted to tie the other 2 to a tree or to a large rock, you can make your own stake out of a stick if you prefer. It's helpful to have a multi-tool, something with a pair of pliers on it. This is my little Leatherman squirt that I really like. A rock to bang the stakes in. And then finally, the hiking poles, which are really the business end of this operation. The poles I'm using are Black Diamond Trail Ergo cork. I don't like hiking with wrist straps, so I've taken those off, but the pin that held the wrist straps in are in place. Alright, first thing you want to do is lay out the Hex nylon tarp in its snake skin, flat out on the ground, and then you're going to take the cable end of it and you're going to thread it into this cavity here of the hiking stick. You're going to put it around the metal pin, right? Oh, incidentally, the hiking stick is set to 130 centimeters. This can be raised or lowered according to the wind conditions and the rain conditions. But I'm going to just thread it through. You're going to use your multi-tool to grab it, pull it through. It takes a few minutes or a few seconds to do this. You have to hold your lips just right to make it work. But once it does, it just pulls right through and it will feed through that wire, and then, oh, there it is. How about that? No multi-tool needed. So the string has gone through this, and I'm just going to lay my stick down here at the end of the hammock and do the same thing to the other side. Alright, so I positioned the handle about 6 to 8 inches away from the end of the hammock, and about 5 feet away from the end of the hammock I've driven in an MSR tent stake. And I'm going to use the end that you would normally tie to the tree to the tent stake. I'm going to use a simple prusik knot. I'll zoom in on this and show you how to tie that. Okay, this is a modified prusik knot which will give you a nice slip knot here in the rope. It's a great way of tying an adjustable knot in your guy wires. So this is the cable that comes in from the hammock, and here's the free end. So I'm going to go over and through, and then on top of that knot I'm just going to go over and through about 4 or 5 times, cinching it down a little bit each time. Now because the other end is not tied tight, it's hard for me to I can't really cinch these up, but that will give you a great knot that you can then, once it's tightened down, you can then slip and it will grab onto it. Right? I'll do the same thing to the other end, and so both ends will be nice and tight, and then we'll splay out the hammock. You got to keep it low, otherwise the wind will catch it. Right, now it's time to erect the structure. We're going to lift the pole. This guy wire is going to get really tight, and I forgot to mention that we should have a pretty good amount of slack here. Put the pressing knot sort of toward the end, and maybe you have to retie that once or twice. You could also simply just lower the pole here, and that would make it have a smaller hypotenuse. Alright, so now I'm just going to lift the pole. The knot will slide down toward the end. That's why you need a little slack. And you can see that even though the wires aren't tight, it still holds up pretty well. My son helped me erect it the first time, and with two people, it's really a breeze. You don't have to go through all this rigmarole to get it just right. You can kind of do it on the fly. Now we're just going to tighten down the guide wires and do the same thing to the other end. So when the knot comes all the way down to the end, unfortunately you have to untie it and then tie it again a little bit higher up. So I'll have to do that now. Alright, now comes the easy part. We're going to attach the hammock to the tarp's ridge line. So what the Hennessy Hammock folks call a doohickey is what you're going to use to simply just clip it to here. It's important to realize that the poles will not will not support your weight. Obviously, you're going to be sleeping on the ground, but this system will keep the tarp or the netting off your face and will allow you to splay out the hammock, keep you nice and dry. All right, so we're just going to adjust the tension a little bit, let it lie flat. Do the same thing to the other side. Take off the snake skins, stretch out the hammock, tighten things up a little bit, and we'll show you the finished product. So just use the bungee wire here to connect. And connect. Now we're going to tension it. Oop, maybe a little tighter. Too tight. Again, you don't want it hanging off the ground like that. If you have a bad rainstorm or a snowstorm where it's really windy, you can lower these things down a lot, which will prevent the water or the snow from getting into you or into your tent. But obviously the lower it goes, the more you have to crawl on your belly. Small price to pay for being dry. And now the next thing is, of course, just to put in your sleeping bag and your mats, and you're good to go. Alright, so once you're ready to take down, you need to untie the pressing knots from the four edges, and then I'll show you how I put my tarp back into the snake skin. I'm just going to tighten up the ridge lines and then just roll it up.